Now, hands up if you have at home, hands up if you have at home somewhere something called the Shabbos lamp. Yeah. Okay, tell us about the different varieties. Tell us about the Shabbos lamp that you have. Go for it.
Sliding at the top like the little one. The black one. Or the Shabbat.
So Ola Shabbat is basically, it has a base. It has like one of these bendy necks, yeah, and then it has like a lamp, and you can slide the lamp an opening of an aperture to let the light come out or the light be hidden. Very, very good. Okay, any other Shabbos lamps? Yes.
So it's like a tube, and then you have the light in the tube, and then you turn it, and then there's a hole.
Okay, so those were the originals, yeah, and you've got a stand that has a bulb in it, and it has a case around it with 2 holes in, and then it has another case that goes on top of it or inside it, and when you turn it, it also has 2 holes in, and when the holes align, so then the light comes out. Very good. Yes, any other type of Shabbos lamp? Yes?
I put them travel edition. So you twist and it goes down.
Right.
Up and down.
So it goes slightly higher and slightly lower, but the same principle, that it has a static lamp, and it has a cover that goes on top of it, which you can either use to reveal the light or hide the light. So let's have a look regarding these things on Shabbos. What exactly can we do with them? What exactly can we not do with them? As we sort of head towards a conclusion of Hilchos Muktze, Be'ezras Hashem. We saw that a flame is Muktze. Right? Why is a flame Muktze? So it was difficult to put our finger on, get it? But it seems to be, the way that it's understood is that it's Muktze machmas gufo, like a stone. Now, why is it Muktze machmas gufo, like a stone? What would you say? It's not like a kli itself. The flame isn't a kli of any sort itself. The flame is not a kli. A kli is something you can hold on to, you can move, you can pass to somebody. Here it's like the flame is alive. So it's not a kli, and it is something that it's not like a kli. So it itself can't be used for anything permitted on Shabbos, in terms of itself, to do something with it. So they say it's a bit like a rock. So it's Muktze machmas gufo, but it's quite difficult for us to exactly put our finger on what is the exact type of Muktze over here, because you might think, well, it has a use, which is for you to see what's going on, to illuminate. But similarly, that's not. But it's considered that the flame is actually Muktze, and similarly, anything that becomes hot, yeah, anything that either glows, it has like a real glow, some metal comes hot, that's also, the Rambam says, if you have metal and it glows, that's also bishul, actually, that's also cooking something, if you have metal that comes hot, and it might be havara, also igniting. So, generally speaking, what about moving just a normal lamp? To move a normal lamp, we said, how do you view that? On the one hand, if it has an incandescent bulb, which means it has like the classic types of bulb, we'll come to LED a bit later, Be'ez Hashem, it has like a classic bulb. So the lamp itself, is that a kli shemalachta le'esa, something that's normally used for a forbidden purpose, because you turn it on or off, or is it that it's actually used for a permitted purpose? It's just you can't turn it on or off, but once it's on, you use it. And this is something which is a machlokus. So what we said is that really lamps, generally speaking, the Minchas Shlomo, Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, he says that me'ikar adin, strictly speaking, you are allowed to move a lamp on Shabbos, and even a heater with red hot coils. And he'd say the Chazon Ish would also agree with this, because the heaters are usually moved around. The red hot coils are not affected when they're moved. And that is what Rav Shlomo Zalman writes in box number 41. So do you have your sheets in front of you? Let's have a look at box number 41. Okay, Minchas Shlomo, Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. Let's go back to what we were speaking about, box 41. The alcohol ponim nira, it seems. The oisam menorahs chashmal, those lamps, she'ef shelataltem mokum lamokum, that let's say on a long cord, on a long wire that you could move. She was kind of b'tchilas tavreina that we spoke about earlier. Oitan or chimum or chashmali or a radiator that's on a, one of these oil radiators that is plugged in somewhere. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Very good.
Huh?
These are very good ones.
Yeah, they're good ones. They're hot. They're very good. Yeah. That you move them around. It seems to be that you might even be allowed to move it on Shabbos. He says that these things, there's no concern that by moving it, it's true when you normally move a lamp, when you move a candle, there's a concern that the candle will become extinguished. But when you move a lamp, as long as you're careful not to touch any buttons, or when you move a radiator, there's no concern it would become extinguished. And it's not like it's supposed to be in like a particular place because it's movable. And also the red coils, or the incandescent bulb in the lamp, it's fixed. It's not like you're going to be adding to it or subtracting from it. So here in box number 41, he comes out quite lenient that strictly speaking, you would be allowed to move it on Shabbos. In box number 42, he still says that it would be uvdin d'chol. Anybody know what uvdin d'chol means? Like a weekday type activity. And so you should, even though strictly speaking it's permitted to, but really you should avoid it. And additionally, people will think that if you're allowed to move them, then they might think that you're allowed to even activate or deactivate them. So let's see that in box 42. Muktze shegozru bei chazal isa, ma she'enkein ba'or electrica, delo shaycha kol hanitza mi nira deshori. So he says that that it's true that Chazal said that if you have a real candle, that should be Muktze. But as we saw above, electricity doesn't have exactly the same. It's different. Omnom, the next underlined bit. Omnom soisla moido'o ki. I was just speaking in terms of the analysis of the halacha, but not practically speaking. Even if it's true that it's permitted, it looks like it's a weekday activity. There's a concern for people making a mistake. People will think, well, if you can move it, it's not real fire. If I can move it, they'll think I can turn it on and off. Even though we shouldn't really add any extra decrees than what Chazal said, leave the Klal Yisrael, they're machmer generally regarding this, and they don't move it. So generally speaking, we try not to move them on a Shabbos. What I would say, the Shmir Shabbos says that you can move certain types of radiator on a Shabbos, not the ones that have red hot coils in. Some say if the red hot coil isn't visible, then maybe that is okay. Let's have a look at box 43, and then we're going to try and apply this to Shabbos lamps. Box 43, he's quoting Rav Elyoshiv, and here he's arguing with Rav Shlomo Zalman and Rav Moshe, and he says all torches, radiators, hot plates, they're all mamish Muktze. And he says the reason why they're Muktze is because we don't even know exactly why a flame is Muktze on Shabbos. But because the flame is Muktze, then these things should all be included as well. They're all like the bosses, they're all like the base of the flame. So let's see that inside box 43. Hagon Rav Yosef Shalom Elyashiv Shlita Zatzal Shomati the Me'achashon Yispor Deitam Isib Tziltol Shel Heves. Rav Elyashiv says, look, bottom line, end of the day, we know Chazal said you're not allowed to move a flame on Shabbos, but we don't know exactly why. There have been lots of theories, but it isn't agreed upon. Lochein, therefore, kol machshir chashmali, any electrical item sheish beichutz loyhet that has a red hot piece of metal, for example, an incandescent bulb or a radiator or a hot plate, it could be that they are all included in the Muktze of a flame. And therefore, all of these things it comes out, Rav Shlomo Zalman and Rav Moshe say that ideally you shouldn't move a lamp on Shabbos. Rav Elyashiv says you can't move it at all. So some say ideally don't move it, and some say you're absolutely not allowed to move it. Moving them kel achar yad, if you're moving them with your elbow, let's say, so then there's no concern that you're going to activate or deactivate anything. It's just like moving regular muktze. When are you allowed to move muktze with your elbow? If there's a need, you're allowed to move muktze with your elbow. So therefore, it comes out that moving all these things with your body is generally going to be okay. Generally going to be okay. Now, what about a lamp shade? And that's going to be the last piece of the jigsaw puzzle here. And then Be'ezras Hashem will put it all together. So have a look at box number 45. So Shmir Shabbos Kol Chosor says, not only is the bulb Muktze, but the entire lamp, including the lampshade, is Muktze. However, he quotes with Shlomo Zalman that if the lampshade is made specially to be adjusted and it's set aside, that the lampshade is to be set aside to cover and uncover the lamp, then that's actually okay. So let's see box 45. The Shmir Shabbos Kol Chosor. Ohil is shel menorah. Ohil is like the tent of the lamp. That means what we call the lampshades. Dinoi kedin ha-menorah atzmai. So the first thing he says is that it has the same status as the actual lamp. For osla tzaltloi b'Shabbos, and you can't move it on Shabbos. Ach, machase ha-murkav me'al ha-menorah k'dei lechavon b'yasa'ay l'chasoisay ayat yosei muter lechavnoi. If you have some sort of a cover which is on top of the lamp, and it's made specially in order to either cover the lamp or to direct the lamp, that is fine. And he brings the source from Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. Now, these were the original types of Shabbos lamp. The original types of Shabbos lamp were ones that were actually made by people. So it could be you had a sort of a lamp, a proper lamp that's built into the wall, but it had like a metal piece that would cover it. Sometimes you have in hotels, in Eretz Yisrael, things like that, really built-in type Shabbos lamps. So that sort of lampshade that's made specially in order to modulate the light that's coming out, those ones, Rav Shlomo Zalman says you are allowed to move. So, hopefully this works, Be'ezras Hashem. We have over here a video about Shabbos lamps. So, let's try and... Is this bright enough? Okay, here's one that you actually turn around. We'll call that the classic Shabbos lamp. Now when you turn it, sometimes the whole lamp moves. Sometimes the bottom moves as well. Is that okay? But you see it has this top part that you can actually take off and remove. You can remove this. And you generally turn it around, and when the apertures are aligned, then the light comes out. And the whole top is removable. Then there's another one called the Shabal.
Those who can't read.
Okay, so far what we've seen is the classic Shabbos lamp. Okay, and that has quite a big bulb in it, doesn't it? Yeah, it's quite a big bulb. It can actually get quite hot, depending on what sort of bulb you're using. Okay, the next one never really caught on in England. I don't know why, because it's really cool.
It's like a thing, take off and call.
Yeah, you'll see, it's really cool, the Shabulb.
And despite some creative but dangerous solutions, there are those who can't sleep. Introducing Shabal, the kosher solution to all Shabbos lighting problems, be it too much or too little light. As you slide the lever, tiny covers slide over the LED lights inside the bulb. Cutting-edge technology meets out-of-the-box thinking and the only bulb you can actually adjust on Shabbos. Shabal, your Shabbos lighting solution.
and it's got a hersher from Rav Osher Eckstein, from Machzikei Das Bells. It's got a hersher from the OU. Any of you ever seen a shabbalb?
Nope.
I don't know why. Because you could literally just...
It costs a lot of money.
Maybe.
Maybe
You,
just not in the field of Shabbos, people do that.
yeah, maybe. Maybe it just feels a bit wrong that you can...
People will feel they are, maybe people that see it will think they were actually
No,
taking
because
the light.
people knew that they hit
Yeah,
such
some
a
like to turn on from going inside the actual lamp, so well, not from outside.
So, but here what's going on is that you're not activating the lights at all. The lights are there. It's just, you could only do this with these sorts of lights. You know why? LED lights, they don't create so much heat. So with LED lights, it's not dangerous. Yeah, if you'd have done that over a normal light bulb, yeah, a filament one, a filament incandescent, it would have overheated, it would have, it would have been dangerous. But this is the shabbalb. Now there's a third type. Sorry, that shabled.
It's like
Draw.
yeah, I think so.
Would you like to see that again? Let me show you. I close, and it's completely dark. I open. Brilliant. This is Shablet, the new Shabbos light. Shablet was invented because, according to many rabbinic authorities, all Shabbos lights on the market have some or many Muktze issues, except Shablet. Shablet has absolutely none. You can use it without any reservations whatsoever. All of the features you could possibly imagine and more are in one compact, lightweight design, from complete darkness to brilliant light, and every intensity in between. Small enough to take wherever you go, bright enough to make reading easy. The functional drawer and clock make it a welcome addition on every night table and in every room in the house. Baruch Hashem, you now have a solution.
You see, the fact that it's got a drawer and a clock means that it's not just like a shade which is covering the lights underneath, but it's a functional drawer. And because it's LED, it doesn't heat the things that are in the drawer. Yeah, and because and even if there's nothing in the drawer, because it's got a clock on the front of the drawer, it has its own like identity. So that's why it markets itself as the most machmir of all the Shabbos lights.
The other ones are...
Because the one where you're turning things around, yeah, they would say, well, you know, you might come to move the bottom part, and even if you don't, this top part, you know, it's just at the end of the day, maybe you could say that the top part is also part of the light and is Muktze. We say that it's not. We said before it's not, yeah? Mm-hmm. And with the other one as well maybe they say that there's some problems. Well, he thinks he solved all of the issues here, and we're going to discuss the Bez Shem one by one.
The new Shabbat.
Okay, which one is the best? Okay, so that is the a little bit about these three different types, and now we're going to.
Is the base of the lamp not quite removed? Is that Muktze?
So the base of the lamp, which actually has, that's the same as any lamp, yeah. So if it's just got the a light in it, so that's the same as any lamp. And we've said that Rav Moshe Feinstein and Rav Shlomo Zalman say that technically speaking, it's not Muktze, but it's better not to move it. And Rav Elyashiv says, no, it is Muktze, because we don't really know why a flame is Muktze, but we apply it to anything similar. So they would all say you could move it in an unusual way.
So you can't touch a fire in Shabbos?
Can't?
Touch a fire in Shabbos?
You'd get
I don't think you should touch
I
fire.
wouldn't recommend that.
Yeah. No, but let's say what it would mean is you wouldn't be able to move a candle on Shabbos. Yeah? So you wouldn't be able to move it. It's Muktze. But we can't quite exactly see why, why is it that it's Muktze? Is it like the Chazon Ish says because it's normally in a designated spot? Is it like the Mishnah Berurah says because it's not a kli, it's not a tool, it's not a vessel, you can't actually physically touch it. So now what we're trying to do is trying to work out what about these sorts of lamps? Yeah.
A few questions. So with the Shabbos lamp where you swivel, there might be a problem with moving it. If you hold the base...
Very good, that's fine. So actually, when the original Shabbos lamps, which the ones that you swivel the top. So one of the big poskim in America, Rav Shlomo Miller, he gave his hechsher to that, and he writes the follows: with respect to moving Muktze, the body of the lamp is Muktze, right? The body of the lamp is Muktze. However, the upper portion of the lamp, the top and the inner cylinder, is a separate part and is a kli heta, whose purpose is to shade the light. So it's just like we saw from that Rav Shlomo Zalman that we just saw quoted in Shmir Shabbos Kol Choso, that the movable part is just to shade the light. When the light is desired, one turns the top to expose the light, and this is called kli heta, a permitted vessel, but one should be careful when turning the top. Don't move the actual base of the lamp. Okay, because that's Muktze. However, touching or holding the bottom of the lamp without moving it is also permitted. Why do you think that's allowed? Because you're not moving it. Muktze is only asa to move, not to hold or to touch. Now, Lemaisa, that is, so he said that you should be careful not to actually move the base. Fine. Now, what about the shabulb? So the shabulb has a switch that's bent into the bulb, and it is not actually, we were speaking about beforehand, we've got something external, it's like an external shade. Now the milah of the Shabbos lamp that swivels is that the top part is actually completely removable. Why does that make it in a way better than the shabulb? It's a separate entity. It's a kli heta. It's completely kli heta. It's just there to adjust the light. But it's actually its own independent identity. Whereas, over here, when you've got the shabulb, you've got the lever, and when you press the lever, it covers the LED lights. And when you press the lever the other way, it exposes it. But this switch, this lever, is built into the bulb. So that, in a certain sense, maybe you could say that's not as good as the swiveling Shabbos lamp. Agreed? Interesting? Yeah. Okay. So, according to Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, it would seem that the shabulb is permitted because this switch is set aside for the unique purpose of covering the light. So, even though it's not a separate piece, we saw it in box 45. Mechasa murkav me'al hamenorah k'dei lachamosai lachasosai mutar lachanoisai lachavna. You are allowed to move it. And in footnote kuf memches in box 45, shomati me'agon of Shlomo Zalman Auerbach da mechavan sheyichdu lekach shorinon. Since it's set aside for this, it's okay. And this lever that opens and closes the shabulb, that's exactly what it's for. What about the shabled, which is the drawer? So, since it's, as we say, since it's an actual drawer to cover the LED lights, and everybody would agree that the drawer, why is the drawer even better than the top of the Shabbos lamp? Because it's not just there to cover it. Yeah, it's got its own use. So therefore, especially if you're going to fill it with other non-Muktze items, then not only can you move the drawer, but you could actually move the bottom of the lamp as well. Right? Why? Because the bottom part of the lamp serves two purposes. It holds the LED light and it holds the drawer. And if you've got more expensive things in the drawer, than the actual LED light, so then it becomes a bossis, right? The bottom part of the shabled is a bossis, it's a base for something which is permitted and something which is forbidden. The forbidden bit, which is the light, and the permitted bit, which is whatever the contents of the drawer are. And if you have a bossis that has in it more important things that are not Muktze than the things that are Muktze, so then you actually are allowed to move the entire lamp as long as it does not get unplugged. And that is an added benefit that the kosher lamp doesn't have, that you are allowed actually to move this whole bottom contraption. So that sounds quite cool, no? Yeah. Now, Rav Moshe Heinemann of the Star K, he gave his hechsher to the shabled, but he said actually the shabled and the kosher lamp, he thinks they're the same. And he thinks that why does he think they're the same? Because if you paskin like the Ikar Din of Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach and Moshe Feinstein, then be'etzem you would even be allowed to move the bottom part of the Shabbos lamp. Why? Because it is klisha malachto le'isa that you're moving the tzarech gufa and the tzarech makaymai. So according to some, you'd even be allowed to move that. Okay, so therefore that's like a whole discussion of the pros and cons. There is another type of Shabbos lamp, yeah?
Yeah, maybe it's something about to say, but when you can lift it up by the lid, the external cover, you can lift up the whole lamp like that. Is that a problem?
Which one?
Yoni's got that one.
So, it's where you've got it's a lamp like that, and then instead of where you swivel and it uncovers, you raise up and then swivel to stay up.
Right.
Then you can actually lift up the whole lamp like that.
Well, but it's still, you're lifting up something which is itself Muktze. The advantage of the one that has a drawer is if you've got permitted things in the drawer or the clock, is that you're actually lifting things up that are permitted and forbidden. Whereas here it would be that it's really, you're lifting up just the forbidden part of the lamp.
So you couldn't do that.
So you should. So if you hold like the Ikar Hadin of Rav Shlomo Zalman and Rav Moshe, that really all of these things are a kli, and that Me'ikar Hadin you're allowed to move them anyway. So then there is on whom to rely to even lift that up. But it's debated.
And the lamps with the
with the bendy arm.
Yeah.
Right. So the lamps with the bendy arm. So presumably, in terms of the actual switch, the actual, the thing that covers, that exposes the light or not. Yeah. So l'chayra, that's the same as the shabalb. Yeah, that's the same as the shabalb because it is. It's all incorporated into one, and therefore. Therefore the OU and the Bel Zadai and Dayan Eckstein give their hechsha to the shabalb, so too they would give their hechsha to the one with the arm. Can you move the arm? Yeah. So that would also come down to can you move it letzarech gufay, letzarech makoymay? According to Me'ikar Hadin, Rav Shlomo Zalman and Rav Moshe Feinstein, yes, but not Rav Elyashiv. So these things are debated, but the good news when you have things that are debated like this is that there is some flexibility. Not just to the arm of the lamp, but there is some flexibility within halacha. There are opinions that say that such things is allowed.
Or if you tie a clock to the bendy arm.
To the bendy arm. Okay, but then if you're only, taka. So then it would be a bit of a bother for very little gain. But technically speaking, yes. Technically speaking, but the advantage of a drawer is that you really do use a drawer. Yeah, in our house we've got all of the varieties, Baruch Hashem, and except for the shabalv. I never got a shabalv. I haven't seen them on sale here. Yeah. Okay.
They also have another one I saw. It's like a magnet. So I don't know how it works actually. It's like a magnet, like when you put it on and off. I don't know how it works. It's like
very good description.
No, you like pull it off and it turns off.
It could be that the magnet maybe pulls towards it inside some sort of a cover, and it sort of lifts it up or something, and then causes it. I've never seen that though. Sounds cool. Okay, so there's one more nakuda that we want to have a look at over here, and then we're basically finished with Hilchos Muktze and related topics. We could do a bit of a chazorah share on it, or could move on to like just a new topic. But that is, are you allowed to read by the light of an electric lamp? There's a Mishnah in Masechta Shabbos that says you're not allowed to read next to a lamp, a candle on Shabbos, in case you come to tilt the candle. What would be the problem of tilting a candle on Shabbos? That's right. That you're causing either more oil or wax to come to the wick, in which case you're like igniting it, even though it's already a light, but you're causing it to get stronger, or you're causing it to go a little bit further away, which is like a kibui, an extinguishing. So, if we have a look in box number 46, which is the Shmir Shabbos Kilchosa, so he says you're not allowed to even read by the light of a candle on Shabbos. Sometimes it can happen that your Shabbos clock has gone out, and you've got just the light of the candles, and you want to read by the light of the candles. So the Gemara says you're not allowed to, even if you want to learn, in case you come to tilt it. But if you read together with somebody else, then you're both like a shomer for each other, and that would be okay. So, box number 46.
What was the issue again of moving
If you're inclining a lamp that has oil, when I say a lamp, I mean like a lamp that has oil. If you incline it and the oil gets a little bit higher on the wick, it causes the flame to grow stronger, which is like igniting it, havara, or to diminish if you're taking the oil a bit further away, which is like kiboy, extinguishing.
Does the person need to be reading with you, or they can be in the room?
In the room is okay. Not too far away. Close enough that they would catch you if you started tilting it. Okay, so let's take this now to ask, that's all very well and good at the time of Gemara. Truth is that even applies nowadays, if you want to read by the light of the candles after they've gone out. But let's just take it down. What we like to do with halacha is take the principles and bring it down to our modern scenarios. Box number 46. You are allowed to read next to an electric lamp. Now, what about the electric lamp if you could actually make the light bigger or the light smaller? He says still. You are allowed to read next to an electric lamp on Shabbos, even if it's an adjustable one. We're not concerned lest you come to actually make it a stronger light, or next to or to diminish it. And he says that it's a nice thing if you are going to be reading next to an adjustable lamp. It's a nice thing it's a nice thing to cover it before Shabbos comes in. In footnote number Kuf Kaf Base in box 46, he says Ayin Simon Reish Ayin Hey Sif Aleph Babira Halacha de Maschel Arvaoid. This whole concern, lest you come to tilt the candle, it is only applicable when the oil is not burning so well. You might come to tilt it so that it should burn brighter. And we're concerned maybe you'll come to adjust it. We don't find that there's any concern that lest you actually come to add oil. So therefore, there's no concern you're going to come to add oil to it. The whole concern is if you'll take what's in there and make it greater. And raising the level of an electrical lamp is not the same as tilting the energy that's inside there already. It's like you're adding more energy to it. If you're putting it on a higher setting, on a lower setting, it's a different concern. It's not like tilting a lamp. It's more like a concern lest you add oil or take away oil. We don't find that there was ever such a gezerah. So he says you're even allowed to use one that has a dimmer. If you look at box number 47, Yechavadas, the Rav Avad Yosef Paskins the same. Basikum, Gam b'menayos chashmal she'ef shel hagbir es midas ha'oyer. So too with adjustable lamps. Ein ligzar shemayata. There's no concern. Yes, you'll incline it. There's no concern of that. Mutter lilmoid la'erim b'Shabbos. You are allowed to learn next to them on Shabbos. He says v'kol mokum lachatchila. Ideally, lochan shechtem erev Shabbos al pesach nayar b'oisies gedolos. It's good if you've got a lamp that you're going to be reading next to. Rav Avadia said it's good to write in paper next to it in big handwriting. Shabbos. Yeah, the letter is Shabbos. Put it next to the switch. Lest, in case you want to adjust the light, you should remember straight away, Shabbos, and you'll be prevented from desecrating Shabbos for Hashem. And Hashem surely will not withhold any goods from somebody who's trying to act in a pure way and do the right thing. If you try and do the right thing, Hashem for surely will not withhold anything from you. He will give you shefa, bracha, and hatzlacha. So it's brought down to learn next to an adjustable light. Again, it's toiv. Toiv in halacha means you don't have to do this. It's a nice added extra to make some sort of a reminder, and that would be okay. One final point: the Chazon Ish says you can't read next to an electric lamp even if it cannot be adjusted, and he holds that there's a low plug. It's the same thing as next to the candle that Chazal made, and therefore it comes out that according to the Chazon Ish you shouldn't actually read next to any lamp on Shabbos lest you come to adjust it. But the mainstream opinion is not like the Chazon Ish. Mainstream opinion is like, as we saw, the Shmir Shabbos Gilchosa and Rav Avad Yosef, who say that you are actually allowed to read by this electric light on Shabbos. So just to really summarize a lot of what we've seen in Hilchos Muktze, we saw at the beginning that there's Muktze machmas. Let's say a klisha malachtoi le'isa. Klisha malachtoi le'isa is the type of Muktze of something that you normally use for a forbidden use, yeah, like the hammer, like the pen. And we said that can be moved for which two reasons? The tzarech gufa, you need it for a permitted thing, yeah. So, for example, the hammer to crack a nut, and the tzarech makoimai, if it's in a place that you need, for example, it's on the table where you're about to sit down and where you need to put your plate. All other types of Muktze, you're not allowed to move the tzarech gufa and makoimai. So that would be, even if it's a klisha malachtoi le'isa, but it is Muktze machmas soren kiss, it's like really, really expensive, you have a designated place for it, you don't like people playing around with it. And other types of Muktze, like a Muktze machmas gufay, like a stone that has no intrinsic use, all of these other things you cannot move l'tzarech gufay and makoimai. But we said that according to the Mishnah Berurah, all types of Muktze you can move kila achar yad, you can move with your elbow or your foot or something like that. Some say even the back of your hand, but better not, that's debated. Better to use your elbow or just in an unusual way. All types of Muktze, according to the Mishnah Berurah, you would be able to move like that. And then we just finished with this fascinating discussion all about Shabbos lamps, the different types and the different advantages and the disadvantages. Anybody learnt anything?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Have a great week. Hatzlacha and siyata d'shemaya.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kol tov, guys.